And
Yeah, I actually have here. Some of it is blurted out, but these are Bible verses from the book of Job. And they say, while I am decaying like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth eaten. That's on one of the walls there. I'm not sure which one. You can probably
this one
It's
right
the
here, you
one
can
above
see
the
one right here.
urinals. Yeah.
some of it. Yeah, you can see I am decaying there on the
That's
right.
awesome,
Some of it
dude.
is blurted out.
That's incredible. You just
I-
don't see that on
I'm
the
not sure
console
what this
versions.
means. I'm not sure what this means in the context of the Bible, but obviously moths and butterflies have a very specific symbolic role in this game. Maria with the butterfly tattoos, um, themes of rebirth and death.
Yeah, I think
All that
it's
stuff.
because of that idea of caterpillars cocooning and becoming butterflies. Kind of symbolizes that element of going through that transition of dying and being reborn.
Really reminds me of Mary, just that while I am decaying like a rotten thing, like a garment that is
Yeah.
moth-eaten. It really makes you think of Mary and the state she was in towards the end of her life and how she felt about herself as well.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a relatable term, a relatable expression to her. That she would feel like sort of this castaway, rotten, moth-eaten bit of cloth.
Yeah.
If you
Are those moths or bats that come after you in the final boss fight? They sound like bats, but I always thought it would make more sense if they were moths. I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure what I feel those are.
I always assumed they were moths. They
look like moths,
look very
but I still
similar
don't
to the. They look very similar to the moths that you encounter in the.
Yeah, they do, don't they? That's what I thought.
Yeah, we'll get to
That's
that
more
in the
fitting with the
hotel.
theme.
Go ahead and read the other half of the other verse.
And on the other wall, it says, "Thy hands fashioned and made me, and now thou dost turn about and destroy me."
Woo, man.
What that means, but I feel like that's more in reference to James.
Yeah, that's absolutely James. That's
Well,
crazy.
I kind of have my own interpretation on these, and I always talk about this in detail. See, I grew up in the church. Like, I'm not really a devout person anymore when it comes to that crap. But I think both these verses go together, and they kind of have a combined meaning, and it's all about Mary. You see, like it's not quite one for one to me, because since they're both from the book of Job. If you guys don't know the story of Job, I'm not trying to give a sermon here or anything, just telling you a basic story about the story of Job. Job was a devout man, probably the most the most devout man to God in the world, and so God he blessed him with everything he could ever want in life, and he stayed loyal to God no matter what. But he was so loyal that God was so confident in his loyalty that Satan challenged God that if you took everything away from Job, he would eventually turn around and curse you and say you don't exist. And so God had so much faith in Job himself that he took Satan's challenge, and he basically turned his back on Job and took everything away, and he made Job live through hell on earth. He took away his family, his life, his health, his everything he owned. His entire family died except his wife, and his wife even turned around and said, "Just curse God and die already," you know?
Get wrecked, Job.
But Job, he stayed loyal to God through it all, and eventually, of course, Satan lost the bet with God. As you say, when you make a bet with God, you usually lose. But I mean, I'm not sure if I really believe that. But in terms of the story, it's a story of a man who, through everything, stayed faithful, even through all the suffering that he endured. And I think in order, you're kind of meant to, in my opinion, you're meant to read these verses in order of this one first: "Thy hands fashioned and made me, and they turned about and destroyed me." and then while I am decaying like a garment that is moth-eaten.
Yeah.
And so to me, in that context, it puts you in the shoes of Mary, where she, like thy hands fashioned and made me, now that turned about and destroy me. That can be taken a little less literally as I like put my faith in you, James, and you abandoned me and you weren't there for me while I am rotting away in my hospital bed alone. But she still stays faithful to him and believed that he loved her, like you read in the letter later. That's kind of my interpretation of these verses and why they're here.
Could also maybe relate to, it might be trying to make a connection between Job and Mary, and that they both were treated unfairly, perhaps, like how Mary, this thing just out of nowhere at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of...
Oh yeah, it's a very unfair thing.
Familiar with the story of Job, so it's hard to... I'd need to do more research on that, I guess. To
Thank you, Chibi. I saw that. Appreciate it.
Raven summed it up pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.